Hey ladies and gents, it's Ava Madison. I have had a lot of questions lately from people asking what kind of conditioning and training I do to build up core strength for pole dancing. And that's a really hard question for me to answer because the truth is that I do a lot of different things. And I think that's what's really key to building core strength. That's going to be really the idea that I push throughout this today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 5 of the things that I've found most beneficial and that have progressed me the most in building my own core strength. Some of them are tips, some of them are actual exercises. So the first thing I'm going to start with is actually what you're looking at. So pulling in pants and in socks. And the reason being is that doing so forces you to use a different set of muscles. You have to overcompensate for all the sliding that you're doing. So it's using what you would normally use plus an extra little addition of those muscles because of the compensation. The other thing is that it forces you to stay off the pole and not use skin grip as part of what you're doing at the time. So obviously we can't climb the pole, we can't hang on with our sides, so it's really all in your grip, your arm strength, and your core. This is something that I have found so beneficial that I actually do it pretty much every single time I pull. I use it as my warm-up. So while it's still cool, you know, got the extra clothes on, I come and do a song or two with the pants and the socks, and again, it's really helped me build that core strength. Again, all arms, core, arms. Alright, number 2, the second thing is don't wait to pull. This is not going to apply to everybody, but for people with poles in their houses, I know a lot of women have them in their living room, they have a separate room for it. A lot of them have them in their kitchen, you know, wherever you have the most space. So generally you have a pole to work with. If you don't, of course, find another exercise to use in modification. But the idea here is that don't make it a piece of exercise equipment that sits in your house. Use it. I'm making dinner, I have a few seconds in between something, I'll come out and just do a few things on it. Nothing you need to be warmed up for. Maybe a couple pencils, a couple tucks, not only does it just slowly build up your strength in between things, it's going to help you maintain in those times between not being able to pull. You know, there's some days I can get on the pole 3-4 times a week, and there's others that I don't all week. And the times that I don't, I lose a lot. Doing this in the middle just helps me maintain the level that I'm pulling at to some extent. It also really helps with your fluidity, just like number 1 that we talked about, pulling in pants and socks. Both of these tips work on your fluidity. Just make sure when you're doing it, like you really should with pulling all the time, not to just jump up and plop yourself down. This is a great opportunity for you to work on your entry and your descents and your exits. So this is a good time to practice your fluidity, your grace, your hands, your feet, and most especially your exits. So bring it up. Think about your form here. Concentrate on your feet, your toes. Do a little something extra and bring it down nice and smoothly. Third thing we're going to talk about are pole tucks. These are absolutely key in everything you do whole. It's going to work your core, it's going to help your inverts, everything strength-wise you're going to need to do. Everybody can benefit from a pole tuck. Absolute beginners, you're going to come into your invert position, hands stacked. A lot of beginners are going to get right to about there. Of course, a little bit more advanced, bring them all the way up. If you're inverting, go ahead and go into an open V or a chopper. However it is that you do it, make sure, again, that you're not falling out, that you're being mindful of your positioning. This is the time to work on thinking about your toes, your feet, your knees, and your ankles. You're going to want to come up slowly, and most importantly, come down slowly. That's the point to really building your core, is allowing yourself to pull the muscles up and then also allow them to reverse their strength back down. So what I mean is take like a 3 or 4 count up, a 3 or 4 count down. So 1, 2, 3, out, down, 2, 3, floor. Keep them steady, consistent, spaced and timed so that it's a challenge for you. Start with sets of 10, work up to sets of 20. Make sure that a set, though, includes not only your dominant side, but your non-dominant side as well. Now, if you're warmed up, you can make this a little more challenging. If you're doing shoulder mounts, you can do the same thing with shoulder mounts. This was really how I polished out my shoulder mounts in the beginning, is in between anything that I was doing. If I was warmed up enough, come on over, do some shoulder mounts this way in repetition. Again, up nice and slowly, down nice and slowly. You've got to remember the down nice and slowly. So, up, 2, 3, extend, down, 2, 3, hold it if you can for a minute before you come back down. Again, sets, both sides. Now this is the key to both of them right here, is that once you get them to a level where you're doing your 10 or 20 reps, you're happy with your form, this is when you need to change it up. And this is why I said earlier that it's difficult for me to say what I do, because it's not the same thing. I make sure to change it often. So you need to work in variations once you get comfortable with doing the set that you're doing. So whether that be open V's, whether that be twists in it, whether that be in the shoulder mount, bringing your legs to each side, up, to the side, to the side, to the center, back down. Whatever it is that you need to do to keep making these exercises challenging for you, that's the key to really building up your core strength. So the fourth thing we're going to talk about is planking. This is more commonly referred to in yoga as chaturanga, which is from the Sanskrit words meaning four-limb staff pose. So most people know this as so. The variation that we're going to be using is on our forearms today. So you're going to want to be on carpet or yoga mat, because you're going to be here for a little bit. And the idea is to come on down, have your arms in an angle about like this to your face, fingers not touching, elbows about shoulder width apart, and what you're going to be doing is coming up to your toes and holding this pose, this planked pose. Now, you want to make sure that your shoulders are engaged, that your back is engaged, and that you're not lifting up and you're also not touching the ground. You want a nice straight ankle running all the way down your body. Now, beginners who have never done this before, you might get 10-15 seconds, and that's completely okay. The idea, and the best way to really get there is to work on it daily. Just in between, I personally, in the beginning when I was building up my core strength, would do it right before bed. So you just hang out in that position as long as you can. I grab my iPad and go into the timer and just hit timer. Again, in the beginning, if you've never done this before, if you're brand new to pole, you're going to get a few seconds. Try to add about 5 seconds every day. And generally, you'll also come to a plateau period that you have to work through, and that's completely normal too. You want to work yourself up to about 5 or 6 minutes. It sounds like a long time, but you can get there in a month or two from never have doing this. This really engages your core, strengthens your back, strengthens your arms. It's also going to help you with your balance. And because you have to stay there, it's going to also help you work on breathing in between the strain of having to hold a pose and really engage your core for as much as you're going to have to. When this becomes easy for you, when you've gotten to holding it for a 4 or 5 minute period, again, just like everything else, it's time to find a modification that makes it a little more challenging for you. Once you get something, you've got those muscles. Keep doing it, but you don't need to be doing it daily. Switch it into something else. Make it into something a little more difficult. So, if we are planking, we can also turn a plank. Hold this for 5. Come up for 5. Down. 5. Other side. 5. Continue to do sets of these. You can add push-ups in between them. You can add a body roll in between them. I try to find things that I'm working on and merge them together. You know, if you want to do a little extra stretching, like I said, pull it up into a side plank. You want to work on your body rolls, take it down into a body roll and back up. Hold it down to a plank, up to a plank. Again, the key is to really get your foundation down and then to build on top of it, coming up with creative new ways to add a little transition in there. And again, this is another thing that is only going to help you understand your body better, which is going to make you better in your transitions and your fluidity. Alright, so the 5th thing we're going to talk about is a body pyramid, what I call a body pyramid or a booty pyramid, and there's probably a technical term for it, and if you're aware of it, feel free to post that in the comment box. And what you're going to be starting out with is either a typical yoga downward dog positioning, which is like so. It's going to be shoulders stacked over your open hands and onto toes, making a nice pyramid with your body. The other way you can do this is exactly like what we just talked about with planking. Your open hands here. So between the two variations, the idea is the same. It's going to be to bring your legs into rotations, whether it be up and down, counterclockwise or clockwise, or a variation of whatever it is that you would like to put together. So first off, standard up and down. You're going to be extending down, pulling up. So it's important to have grip for your hands, but to have slide to your feet. This is obviously the way that I prefer doing it. So again, shoulders stacked, bring it down, pull it up, bring it down, pull it up. Now, once you've got these mastered, you're doing a good 20, 30 sets of these, repetitions. Start bringing in the leg variations. So whether that's going to be bringing them out and up, out and up, reversing that, doing these are not only going to strengthen your core, they're going to strengthen your wrists for things like handstands, shoulder presses, and it's also going to help with your flexibility in not only your back, but your hamstrings. Another little tidbit that I'm going to add with this is if you want to start doing these, once you're very comfortable with these, if you want to start turning these into handstands or arm presses, the key to doing that is to not using your standard pole grip to come up to your handstand, because you have this security blanket being the pole that you can lean against. Some people do them against their walls. Of course, if you've never done one before, get comfortable doing it against a wall. But really practice these solo with nothing behind you. If you need to, you can grab a mat here to feel comfortable in the beginning. Go ahead and place a mat behind you, because in the beginning you do have a tendency to occasionally overextend, and nobody likes falling flat on their back. You only do that once. If you don't have a mat, do it up against a chair or couch, just not somewhere that your butt is going to be able to hit. So not the pole, not the wall. You want to have to force your body to find that alignment, because that steady sway in finding your balance obviously not only helps you with your balance, but it's what's really key to strengthening your core. So, like so. Nothing behind me. I have to steady myself and press up into it and maintain my balance. So I'm shaking a little hard here, so hopefully the camera can actually see what I mean by that steadying motion. And then of course, once you're comfortable, you can do all kinds of leg variations in there. Prancing, open V's, great place to practice your leg variations. So hopefully all these things helped you out. Again, the tips are, number one, pulling with pants and socks. Very, very big on helping me build my core up. Two, don't wait to pull the pole. You know, if you've got one, do it in between things, every time you walk by it. And the reason that I really remember this is because when I first got my pole and it was super exciting, I couldn't stay off of it, and the progression that I made doing that just helped so incredibly much for me. But if you don't have that option, I mean, you've got to get creative. If you don't have a pole in your house, find something else to do. You can buy yourself a chin-up bar. If you can do handstands, some presses, anything in between. And again, once you get comfortable with it, once your body gets comfortable doing it, vary it up a little bit. It's going to help you expand your muscles in a way that can only benefit you on the pole. 3, tucks. Do your pole tucks in between. Another great thing to do in between. In the beginning, you're going to want to just do these as a standard part of your pole training. But of course, once you're pulling at a more intermediate to advanced level, you can definitely use it for smoothing out your transitions, working on your legs, your toes. And number 4, planking. Do your planking. It hurts, it sucks in the beginning. Totally help you out though. And number 5, the booty pyramids. Work on booty pyramids. They help you with everything. Your core, your transition, your flow, your footwork, everything in between. So, I hope that helps you out. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. Alright, and the 5th thing we're going to be talking about are what I call body pyramids or booty pyramids. There is probably some technical term that I'm unaware of. Feel free to post a comment with what it is, if there is one. So basically what you're going to be doing is a downward dog pose with your legs in the standard. Let's just start over. Okay, 3rd thing we're going to talk about are pole tucks. Basic beginner pole tuck. No. Doing that gives you we're going to be pulling in This is what is most commonly termed in an